organization analysis of data. Um, so really work across the board as it relates to data and really just understanding and getting the most out of it. As we've continued to grow in our practice, we work really closely with IBM, with our VAD TD Synnex, to just to make sure that we're up to date on the technologies, the go-to-market strategy that's across the board, and really aligning with what our customers are trying to accomplish. So today, in what's really holds dear to us is really around data quality, and data quality for a variety of different use cases, for your traditional, analytics, making sure garbage in, garbage out, and or, more of your generative AI side of things. So how do we ensure that the data that individuals are using for a variety of different use cases is accurate, consistent, reliable as we put that into use and as we productionize it? So, you know, today we're really going to dig into some of that. We have a great panel to dig into some of the, questions and get their intake or input on how do we accomplish this? What's the most effective way to really handle some of the data quality issues? Um, and where TechD comes in. So we, as a partner of, IBM, we have a practice that is all about reselling and implementing the technology. Again, working hand in hand with IBM to make sure that we're solving these challenges for customers, leveraging the best in breed technology. Um, so with that, we have a quick poll question just to see, why are some of you here today? Let me see if we can launch that. Where'd it go? Well, maybe we'll skip the poll for now as I continue to look for it. And as I find that, Mark, one of the individuals, Mark Martina from TechD, asked him to join us and really just give his perspective on the market. So, Mark, you want to take it away?
Sure. Thanks, Brian. I appreciate it. So, as Brian was saying, my name is Mark Martina. I'm a system architect. I'm one of the owners of TechD. I've been working with data and analytics since forever, probably going on about 30 years now, which makes me feel a little bit old saying it out loud, but it is what it is. So my goal today is just a couple things, kind of talk a little bit about data quality and what it is and the importance of it and some of my experience with it. And then we've got some amazing panelists who are going to tell you how to actually make sure you have good data, good quality data. All right. So let's kind of start it off here. So data quality, if you don't know what it is, it's essentially reliable data, free from errors, duplicates, contradictions. It aligns with business needs as well, and it's usable. Right. So the structure is formatted correctly so you can actually use it. So it's not just a right answer, but also has to be formatted in a way that you can, you know, utilize it, consume it, whether it's through AI or through traditional analytics and dashboards, pretty much whatever. Right. So that's data quality. Now, why is it so important? Well, there's a variety of reasons. This is probably one of the biggest and my first that I put up here. So trust. You need to actually be able to trust your data. If you can't trust your data, you could have the prettiest report, the sexiest dashboard. No one's going to use it. No one's going to care about it. No one's going to like it because they don't trust the data. If they don't trust the data, they don't trust anything that sits on top of the data, right? AI is becoming big with this as well. So AI, as Brian said, garbage in, garbage out. AI inherently used a lot of unstructured data, but nowadays it's using structured data as well. And people are want AI, but they're very weary of AI. And so they will scrutinize the responses from AI in ways you've never seen before. They'll say things like, your AI is lying to me, as if they went to high school with AI or something like that, right? Um, and that's the problem, is that just the data is poor. And so just like, I was a Cognos developer for years, I've done other analytics, I'm very good with SQL. We do a lot of work with AI. When you're the end of the stream of data, you're the windshield. So you get hit with all the problems, all the issues, and it's your job to kind of figure it out, I guess. So when you have a problem with your source data, that issue just goes straight through, all the way from the left, all the way from the right, and right to whatever the end user system is, which report, dashboard, or nowadays a lot of AI. Right? So it's very important that they have trust. Right? So that's definitely probably number one. Number two, in my opinion, is troubleshooting and root cause, right? So again, I was always the person who found the issue because I'm writing the report, I'm generating the dashboard that's wrong, I'm assisting with the implementation of the AI that is verbally giving the wrong answer. And so they're yelling at me saying, your system's wrong, your reports are bad, you did this wrong, your AI is lying to me. And so now, you go from a report writer or an AI implementer to a database sleuth and a SQL guru because you have to go through and find out what's going on. First thing you do is you ask the person in charge of the data source, where's the data come from? And they typically say, I don't know. I'm like, well, how long have you worked there for? 5 years. Why don't you know? Well, the person who actually wrote this left 6 years ago. So a lot of times you will find data sources that were not created this week, this month, this year. I've run into data sources that were literally unchanged for 15 years. So people have no idea what's going on. And with a simple, data lineage tool, something excellent like Manta, they probably could have just scanned their entire world and came back with all this insight that they never had before. And that would have taken my job and made it a lot easier because there's big difference between creating a usable report with meaning and understanding and actually finding the root of all the data and actually debugging the data, especially when it's not something that you possibly, have anything to deal with. Data warehouses, they're designed to be data from multiple systems. No one is an expert of all the systems. Your data lake has data from everywhere. Right? So nobody's an expert in it. So it's a challenge for you to actually be somebody at the very front, to actually go back to the back and figure it out. So troubleshooting is a huge reason to have good data governance, quality data, right? Because you want to avoid this entire step. And if you have to do this step, you want it to be easy, simple, clean. And to be honest, it rarely is. All right. So that's why these smart gentlemen coming up after me, they're going to show you tips, tricks, techniques, tools that they're using to alleviate these problems. Right. And one and two are definitely the biggest issues I run into all the time. Next one is compliance and auditing. Always an issue, but even more now. All right. HIPAA compliance never existed before. It does now. GDPR, SOX. There's also CPA, California Protection Act, right? So these laws require you to actually know where your data comes from, make sure it's clean. You might have to redact or delete your data. You can't delete a user's data if they request it if you don't know where it is, right? So this could cost you a lot of money, big fines, big dollars, and obviously it's a great reason to have, good quality data, right? Impact analysis is also big, right? So again, a lot of these systems weren't put together last week or last month. They're systems that have been around for years, right? And so if somebody comes in and, well, there's a new data source, we have a new app, we just merged with another company, we need to make a tweak. You want to find out what impact that's going to have with the rest of your systems, with your ETL that you've got in place. And if you don't know where the data is coming from, you don't know what it's doing under the covers, then this is going to be a big challenge for you. Right? Adding data shouldn't break everything else, but unfortunately, a lot of times it does, and this is a big issue I run into. Right. Four is a big one, possibly even bigger. Maybe they're tied for fourth. Knowledge sharing and onboarding. Right. First thing somebody does when they're new to the system is, all right, let me get my hands on it. Let me see where everything comes from. Well, if you've got a huge ETL process, you've got 15 source systems, you've got a data warehouse, you've got a data lake, you've got something in the cloud, you've got some things on-prem. That is not an easy task. But if you have the proper tools in place, it can be. And so this could be a great way to onboard somebody, to train somebody. So instead of somebody being useful after 3 or 6 months, they could actually be useful and do meaningful changes in a week or two. And that's a big deal. You're not hiring a person so that, they can eventually get it. You're hiring some person because you need them now, not 6 months from now, typically. Right? That's a big deal. Another one is optimizing your data pipelines, right? Where's the data coming from? How am I using it? You know, so a system that was created a few years ago, 10 years ago, it's probably not optimized. It was designed perfectly, let's say, the day it was released. But since then, your company now has 5 times the amount of data, 10 times the amount of data, and you've randomly just added other data here, there, wherever. Well, it's not optimized. I can tell you right now, right? So optimization is a big one. And then last but not least is data governance, right? So governance is important for supporting different things like policies, transparency in the system. Data governance is becoming bigger and bigger every year. And to be honest, the advent of AI is only adding to this. Again, we've gone into a lot of AI implementations, and again, your AI is lying to us, your AI is wrong, we have no confidence. And it's because they don't have any governance tools in place. They have nothing in place to make sure that things are the way they need to be. So why high quality data? I think I've gone through that a lot. But essentially, why you need it is because, well, you need confidence high, you need your reports to be correct, you need your AI to be correct. And the downside of it being bad is, slow down in response time, incorrect reports, which means incorrect decisions, low confidence in your system, AI implementations now that could potentially be a failure because your underlying data is so poor, they don't want AI talking about it. So that's essentially what AI does. So again, here's kind of just a little grid of what I was talking about. Untrustworthy data, huge problem. Inconsistent data, massive problem. And I find inconsistent data to be very common now, especially with AI. It's not necessarily that your data is always wrong. Sometimes it's dated, right? So you could have a document and you'll say you're at a bank and your document today says you're in 7 states. Well, if you also have a document from last year that says you're in 6 states, because in the last 3 months you opened up a new branch in a new state, right? Or it says you have 25 branches when really you have 27 branches. The data is just stale, right? The problem is that causes a conflict. If you give me two different data sets, one says A, one says B, if I can't tell the difference, then how do I know what the right answer is? A lot of times when you see data, when you see things like printouts and whatnot, it doesn't necessarily have a, expiration date on it. So a lot of times that comes in all the time, and that causes for delayed decisions and now delayed implementations. AI is kind of a race. Everybody knows they need it. They don't always know why they need it, but what they do know is if they're the first one using it correctly and efficiently, it's going to give them a competitive advantage. If they implement AI before anybody else and the data's not good underneath, then they actually didn't win, they lost, right? Because the person who has better data, who might have done the same implementation 6 months later, is actually ahead of them because it's not usable until they fix their underlying data. So AI is definitely making this more of, it was always a problem before, and it was always something that needed to get changed, and always something that needed to get fixed. But now, if you're throwing AI out to your different customers and things like that, um, you want to get there sooner than later, and it needs to be correct. And this is becoming a big problem. I have done more AI demos where I use customers' data that I showcase how their data is wrong and implementations than I ever did in with Cognos or dashboards, reporting, anything like that. Because they're pulling in data sets they don't typically use. They're doing things they've never done before. And we are, again, the windshield, and we get hit with all the bugs. We find out what all the problems are, and then we have to go down and essentially fix them or find someone who can help fix it. Right. So again, it's more and more important now than it ever was. Right? So that was kind of my little spiel about data quality, why it's so important. If anybody has any questions, it's great. If not, I think I'm going to hand it off to our next
Thanks,
group.
Mark. Yeah. Mark, thanks for the insight. Thanks for kind of walking us through why it's so important and what you're seeing in the, in the market. Now that I was able to get some of the polls working, really like to kind of see, hear from the audience here on some of the areas that are, most interest to all of you. So Joy, are you able to launch the polls? So on the bottom of your screen, you should see a poll section um, that we will go through. The first question there, what is your biggest data pipeline challenge? I have a couple different options. So it'd be great to see what all of you guys are working through today. The second one there, which area is your top priority for improvement in the next 12 months? Now, if you need to fix all of them, that's great too. We'd be happy to have the conversation. Um, as you go through maybe more of the free form question is, what data challenge is really keeping you up at night? What's your biggest concern, biggest worry as it relates to data? 4, which data quality issue really costs you the most time and money? If you're able to, put your thumb on why or what are some of the issues? The fifth one there is, what's holding you back or holding your data team back? I know in the conversations I have, it certainly varies a lot. And so it'd be great to just understand some of the challenges that you're all working through. And then last, but certainly not least, you know, is there a particular skill set or individual that, the organization is looking for? Um, again, is it maybe a lack of expertise or area that you're really focusing on or need some help in? Joy, are you able to share some of the results there? I think it'd be a good kickoff to our next topic.
I can. So, what is your biggest data pipeline challenge? Right now, it's looking like most of you are saying lack of visibility is your biggest data pipeline challenge. Which area is your top priority for improvement? This is close between data lineage and data consistency. What keeps you up at night? That's a short answer, so I guess I'll just have to read those when I can see them written out. But which data quality issue costs you the most time and money? Hands down, cleaning messy data. That's a top response for that one. And what is holding back your data team? Siloed systems. Siloed systems and right behind siloed systems is lack budget. And last but not least, what data hero does your organization need the most? And you have lineage as well as data governance. And those are the responses. I can still see a
Perfect.
couple
Thanks,
of you
Joy.
answering, but that looks good.
Yeah, and as part of the follow-up, we'll certainly, just give everyone a glimpse into what we're all working through. With that, I think what we're all, most excited about today is really the panel discussion. So we have a great group of individuals to really give their perspective on the market, on the challenges that we're all seeing as it relates to data quality. So I certainly cannot do all of them justice in terms of, their credentials and why they're here. So what I'd like to do is, ask each of them to introduce themselves, give a little bit of a background, and then from there, we got a couple questions that would love to get their take on. And then if there are questions that the team, the audience wants to propose and ask, please put those in there. We'd love to answer them. So, Thomas, you came off camera or you went on camera first. So I think we can start with you.
Thanks. And really glad to be here, and good morning, good afternoon to everyone who is just listening and hopefully asking questions throughout this panel. My name is Tomáš Krátký. I am the former CEO and founder of Manta, a data lineage leader who was acquired by IBM approximately a year and something ago. So now just swimming in these blue waters with a giant, and really looking forward to the panel today, to the discussion and everything.
Thanks, Tomas. John?
Hi, everybody. John Durkin. Came over to IBM as part of the StreamSets acquisition. For the last 3 or 4 years, I've been running StreamSets Academy, which is our technical training group that provides enablement on our product. And I'm also the go-to-market product manager for IBM StreamSets.
Thanks, John. Stephen?
Hi, yeah, I'm Steve Sawyer. So I am the director of IBM Data Observability and Connectivity in our watsonx platform. So as part of our data observability technology, we actually came from an acquisition called Databand. And so we do pipeline observability. And so I run that team. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you. And Peter?
Good morning, Petra here. I've come to IBM with Tomáš with Manta. I was helping get Manta as a product of the ground with my passion for partnerships, which we believe are the critical market force for technology like Manta. And I've been working with in a small team with Kat here, who's actually been working with TechD to make this webinar a reality. Kat, over to you.
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining this webinar today. So it's a pleasure to have you all. And I joined IBM through the Manta acquisition. Like Peter and Tomas, we're here to build the right solutions for you. So enjoy today.
Yeah, thanks, everyone. I think, as you can see, we got a great group of individuals, and I think as we look at data quality, there's a piece for each piece of technology, right? So instead of focusing on one part, let's look at this as kind of a broader challenge. And fortunately, as IBM, we are able to solve all of these challenges using different tools and techniques depending on what you're looking to accomplish. And so I see a couple questions coming in. So maybe we can start there, and then I'm not sure who would want to take this first one. So how can organizations balance the need for data privacy with the need for data quality in AI projects? Does one of the panelists want to take that one?
Yeah, I'm just happy to do this one. I just, because I keep getting these questions quite often in the past, I don't know, a year or so when visiting customers. And I must say that after giving it a lot of thought, I feel like it's fundamentally a wrong question to ask. And the reason for that is I see it more as a question like, where should I put my resources and what my priorities are? Because those two topics shouldn't be in conflict. They are not in conflict in any way, at least not from technology perspective or people perspective or process perspective. Their objectives complement each other, I would say, because data quality is about getting my data right and getting, enough of it. So I can train and use my AI models. And the privacy thing is about protecting my data. And I believe we have a lot of technical tools and resources in place to make both happen. So I would say in the end, again, they are not in conflict. It's more, I have a limited number of resources. So what's the first thing I do? And what I see most companies doing is just rushing towards AI. No matter what anyone thinks, just you believe that data privacy is important, yes, but I see everyone rushing towards using AI in some shape or form, sometimes just ignoring the privacy question at all and just waiting for later to solve it. But again, technologically not in conflict. It's more just limited resources and how you use them, in my view.
Yeah, thanks. I think you're right too. The AI comment is interesting, right? It's, let's just start going AI without really taking a look at the foundation of what it's built on. So, did anyone else want to comment on that? John, coming in with a tough question. So, do you think AI will eventually solve its own data quality problems?
Oh, anyone would like to answer? I mean, this is like a, I don't know, like $1 billion question, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as a founder, just coming from a startup environment, yes, just we have this wave coming, like AI is more and more powerful. And yes, I would expect that at some point, as we change the way we develop software, how we change the way we develop data pipelines and just all the integration, eventually it must change the way how we address data quality. So again, like if anyone knows how to do it right now, please just start your company. I think you will be really successful and make a lot of money. I don't see like a real examples of companies doing it right now. A lot of people trying, and just we have a lot of productivity improvements. If you look at our portfolio as IBM and how our tools are completely different to the same tools from 4 or 5 years ago, that productivity increase is just crazy. And like it's all driven or enabled by Gen AI mostly. Like how you do business glossaries, how you build data integrations, how you use AI in general across data governance and data quality to boost productivity. So you see that change is happening, but are we there yet? I would say no, but we will get there eventually, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. From a data observability perspective, when you start to look at those pain points that we started the discussion around, specifically around how do you optimize, data pipelines? How do you do troubleshooting? Like we are seeing AI significantly improve efficiencies in those areas. And so when you think about data ops and agentic workflows, like there's no doubt a lot of those pain points that you're seeing around troubleshooting and around pipeline optimization will start to feel less painful. I think the other thing too, when you start to look at, can I trust my data? At its core, AI won't fully solve that, but I think it will actually go a long way towards helping consumers build the confidence in the data, simply because what we're seeing now with the technology is AI is really good at essentially generating questions about your data. So they can generate huge numbers of queries. Again, back to this whole, is it worth the cost, right? But they can actually generate the questions that may be relevant to you and automatically start asking that about your data. And so when you start to think about how do I actually generate trust in the data, how do I troubleshoot, and then how do I optimize pipelines, those are 3 areas where I see AI playing a significant role, and specifically agentic AI. It's because that's where we'll see huge amounts of efficiencies from the automation that AI will provide.
Yeah. Let's see. We have another one that just came in. What does an AI-ready data quality framework look like? We may have to take this one offline too, but it's a good question.
I mean, is it any different from non-AI data quality framework? I mean, I it's a good question, but I would say it's the same for the last 50 years. The only thing that is actually changing is, I mean, the amount of data, like ways how we use data, like number of touch points and data use. Like the issue is becoming bigger because we have more use for data. But I think the fundamentals are still the same, just how to get your data right and how to fight with the growing volume and variety and velocity of data. But again, I like tools are changing. What we do with data observability and data band and the new development that's part of the IKC tool set, the knowledge catalog tool set. Like you see that getting smarter and smarter and more automated, so you do not need to like write every single rule for your data, but fundamentally it's, I believe, the same thing as in the last 50, 60 years.
Actually, I have a chart on that actually from Gartner that is trying to merge these views between kind of like Tomas was saying, like historical data quality, and then specifically kind of how does Gen AI start to fit into this and potentially change it. I do think it is an interesting. Let me see if I can share this. So so this is Gartner's view of AI ready data, right? And so everything through, your data governance, your metadata management, and then of course the thing that, I work most with, which is of course the data observability side of the house. So, it is definitely changing the way we're thinking about solving these problems, and how we package solutions around it. And so I think it's a reasonable question to say, like, how is AI ready data different from just traditional data? And I think when we look at it from a tooling perspective, we are trying to optimize around specific type of data quality things that are more aligned to AI. So
one other thing I would kind of add on that builds upon this is, in order to have a quality data framework, you have to actually get the data into the system. I know that's really basic and sounds silly, but if everything breaks every time your data sources change, you don't have a data quality framework because you don't have data. So it's really important to have resilient pipelines that are ingesting data that can deal with things like data drift, because you're going to build a pipeline and 10 minutes later, somebody's going to add a column, or they're going to change something in the schema or add a source, and it's going to break everything unless you have it pre-programmed to deal with that. And one of the things that StreamSets does is we account for data drift ahead of time. You can determine what's going to happen before it breaks. You can decide what to do with the data, put it in a different table, ignore it, put it somewhere else, alert the engineers, whatever it is you want to do. And that's going to keep the data in your framework very high quality ahead of time. So you have to plan for these things before it becomes a mess. So another thing to consider.
Yeah, I think that, so, as one of the questions we were looking to kind of kick off here is, how can organizations ensure data quality in AI systems? And I think you guys kind of touched on that, right? Kind of making sure you're tracking the pipelines and understanding or predicting before it breaks. Anyone else kind of want to add to that question?
Absolutely. So I see one question that came even like sooner, like what advice or thoughts do you have for companies trying to walk? I think it's also a very interesting question linked to the same answer, because and guys might see it differently because they are coming from a different background. But for me, the whole topic of data quality, AI related or non-AI related, is all about, I would say, like visibility. And it was interesting to hear from the audience that that's actually one of the major pain points. Like most companies I talk to, they have very smart, intelligent tools in place. They have some basic understanding of their data estate, but detailed visibility that enables real control is not there, almost never. And as the environment gets bigger, your visibility is usually just smaller and smaller. And for me, data quality or data quality in general, not only for AI, was always about having visibility and being able to apply some core principles very early in the life cycle. So it's great to have like monitoring in place and detect drift and detect like null values in your tables and inconsistencies in your staging area and all of that fun stuff. But it's like, for me, this is all like almost too late. It's still early enough to prevent a real disaster, but from efficiency perspective, it's too late. It's way later than it could be if we do change management properly, if we think about consequences of changes we would like to implement, if we think about how to design our workflows, processes, and systems. And that's more like a people and process thing and less a technology thing. But obviously, you need metadata, you need visibility, you need like end-to-end view of your data estate, structured, unstructured, everything together. But I believe that's like the fundamental requirement if you even want to think about quality. Because if you don't have it, then the only other option is what we usually call like monitoring, observability, stuff like that. That's your only option, in my view.
I do think it's super interesting when you take, like Tomas was saying, like the human side of data quality. We see this quite a bit in terms of data observability, right? Is like, like you may have one data steward that's looking at one thing and a data engineer that's building a pipeline in a given another tool, right? And then a data ops that's trying to manage them. And the data quality issues start to actually kind of happen like at the seams, right? So it actually happens at the seams of your organization. And so for us, one of the things that, we've been trying to really focus on is like, data quality is a team sport. So like, how can you actually just make all of those folks actually work more closely together? And a lot of that is, building on the same technology platform. But then there's also just a cultural component of like, how do you actually like get the human beings to collaborate and have a culture of quality around that? Because oftentimes what we've seen is that it's like you have to stay in your own silos, and therefore like any data quality issue that is, identified really takes a significant amount of time because you have to go through the different organizations to actually address the issue, right? I have to go change a pipeline or, and so it has just as much to do with the way that the teams are organized as much as the technology itself.
Also, maybe just one additional point. Sometimes, actually quite often, when talking to customers, when they say data quality or data or AI, whatever, like they usually think of a very small part of the whole ecosystem. So basically they focus on the lakehouse, data lake, data warehouse, and the analytics piece or AI models. Like it's a very small part of an enterprise. But the real like journey of data is, I mean, at least from our perspective, like way longer and more complex. And when you talk about data owners, you don't have data owners in your data warehouse. I mean, you have them there, but you should have data owners in like source applications. Doesn't matter if it's like a CRM or accounting software or something else. And when you talk about, or when you think of data quality, you should really extend that thinking to this end-to-end pipeline. Because again, if you are able to shift your focus to the left, meaning to the source of your data, you will be way more efficient, in my experience, with like preventing issues from happening in the first place.
Great, thank you. Let's see some other. Kat, thanks for asking or answering some of the questions there on this side. Let's see. How about one that we kind of had planned as well is so I think this is a big one. I think the way you're talking about the people and process, right? It is a multi-pronged approach, but what do you think is the most underestimated data quality risk for key initiatives, for AI initiatives or other initiatives?
From my experience, it's the topic of trust. Basically, if your data, if your users, your people, if they don't trust data they should use, if they don't trust data in reports, if they don't trust data entering AI models, if they don't trust data in general, I mean, it's boring, but you will achieve nothing. Your projects will fail. You will waste tons of money. You will constantly retrain your AI models because results will not be okay enough. You will just you are done, basically. So just thinking of trust, how to build trust, how to show people that they can trust the output. It sometimes the only thing, I mean, we have so many customers where the only thing necessary was to give people enough visibility, and that's it. Just that alone was good enough to make a significant step forward and avoid a lot of issues and fights, internal fights over data and so on. So from my perspective, it's really about trust.
So I can add on to what Tomas said. You asked Brian what's underrated about this. I think one of the most underrated aspects of it is the speed of data. People don't tend to think of that in terms of data quality, but how old your data is has a direct impact on the quality of the decisions that the AI model can make, right? Because you think about it, AI is to help make decisions and point things out that are faster than the human brain can come up with stuff, right? A lot of cases. I'll use a really simple example. This is kind of bad, but I'll just use it. Let's say you built the greatest AI model ever that helped predict stock prices, but your data feed is 5 minutes delayed. We've seen so many things over the last few weeks where, world leaders will impose tariffs and the market tanks 20%. Well, if your AI model is based on 5 minutes ago, you just made wrong choices. You're buying things when you should have been selling or vice versa. Tariffs are removed, the market goes up 20%. If you're still getting a data feed from 5 minutes ago, you just made the wrong decision again. So data quality is also impacted by speed. Increasingly, we're in a real-time world, so you have to have ingestion that is operating at the speed of business, and increasingly that is real time. So something else that's underrated to think about.
And I think on top of that, right, it's ultimately resiliency as well, right? Because failures happen, right? There are data quality issues. They will pop up, right? There's no technology that is fail proof. So how do you actually design your system in a way that will fail gracefully, right? That is going to get you back up and running as soon as possible. And so again, it's how fast can I actually close this loop to make sure that the people are informed, and the technology's back up and running, and with obviously the quality improved. I think that as you look at the pace that cycle needs to operate today is a lot of fun in terms of building technologies to operate at that scale in that pace. So
yeah, I think it's interesting the kind of the three similar but different perspectives, coming from kind of the different product sets or areas that the three of you have really focused on. So, maybe probably a really good question, right? It's how did the data engineers, operators use your three specific tools, right? Manta, StreamSet, Databand to manage and monitor their pipelines? Are there different benefits depending on the tool? This is where we get into, mine's better than yours type of thing. But really, I think there's a place for all of them. So it would be great to hear your perspective.
Sure. I can probably go first. I think my product is the first one that people would use, so I guess I'll go first. From a data engineering standpoint, some of the benefits of using a tool like StreamSets is it's very easy to use in the way that you want to use it. And what I mean by that is there's a continuum on the user experience from drag and drop, very approachable, very simple, all the way to a full Python SDK. So if you're a coder and you want to write code that does thousands of pipelines at the same time, we got you covered. If you want drag and drop for somebody that's not a coder and you're just a business person that wants to build something technically with a visual interface, it also works that way. It democratizes the pipeline building experience because we can cover all skill sets within your group. It's definitely a data engineering product. However, you don't have to be a coder to use it. There's steps in between with scripting and so on. So that's kind of the first step, is just making it available to everybody. I mentioned earlier, part of like feeding into data quality is making sure that you're building things with the anticipation that things are going to go wrong, because they will. Steven said that, and it's so true. So it's building in data drift ahead of time to say, what am I going to do when my source system changes? Am I going to break this pipeline? No, we don't want to do that. So am I going to take this data, put it in a separate table? Am I going to alert people? Am I just going to ignore it until it can be fixed? Those sorts of things have to go into the process. So it's really just making sure you have a tool that's easy to use and has foresight into the problems that are going to occur in any data system. So I'll start the conversation with that.
That makes sense, and I really love it. Just as I mentioned already, for me, it's all about visibility, and that's the number one value Manta delivers. It's about understanding end-to-end journey of data and all dependencies in your environment. So no matter how complex your data pipelines are, how much movement do you have, how many transformations, how many things connected together, you have that visibility. And that allows you, I would say, two major things to be done differently. First one, whatever you need to change, you understand impacts of that change before you do it. And that's, from my perspective, fundamental to really prevent issues from happening. Just understanding impacts of any change you plan to do before you do it. So, you avoid, potentially, you avoid as many errors as possible. And the other part is, if unfortunate things happen and you have data issues and challenges, how to quickly discover the real source, the real root cause of that issue, and also understand all other places where that root cause impacted the outcome, and how to really quickly fix that. So really, dependency management across your data estate, that's fundamentally the biggest value, and it fits nicely with the overall data fabric offering by IBM. It's just really nice how all these things are integrated together.
And then we on the data observability side sit right in the middle, right? And so like ultimately what we're focusing on is time is money, right? So like how can I help quickly identify that issue and quickly help you get back online to actually troubleshoot it. And so that means everything from, providing your data ops person, like with the immediate alert when that pipeline does have an issue, through, providing, say, the data engineer with all of the logs that are going to help them actually understand what went wrong, ultimately then link it back up into the broader lineage so they can do that for further analysis to not just get it back online, but like fix it for real. And also, like when you look at it through the lens of data steward, one of the things that we're actually super excited about, kind of bringing it back to data quality too, is like the ability to run data quality checks, SQL, on data as it's running through your pipelines, right? And so, you can put those metrics, those SQL statements, like as the data is being in motion, as opposed to traditionally where you're running the data quality in the warehouse. So for us, it's all about speed, and then giving those three personnel, those three, skill sets, the ability to actually implement data quality while it's in motion.
Yeah, great. I think as you indicated, there's really multiple ways multiple ways to solve the problem, and then also the technologies are there, right? And I think IBM's breadth across the space is, unmatched in terms of what the market's putting out there and really being able to address the entire data quality issue or data integration side of things. So thank you for your perspective there. We only have a couple minutes left here, so instead of continuing down, I want to see if there's any other questions from the audience that they're most interested in getting answered by the panelists today. And so give that just a minute.
Yeah, actually, there's one of the last questions, like AI governance and AI agents and all of that fun stuff. It's a really great question. And I would love to say a few things. Thing number one is that we should still differentiate between data governance, AI governance. Data governance is about getting your data right for your AI models. So basically how to deliver reliable, trusted, understood, safe data at the right time for your AI models. And that is not going to change. Hopefully, AI will help us to be more efficient with this task, hopefully. The other part is AI governance, which is about something completely different. It's like the way how we use AI today, is it like safe, legal, ethical? Decisions made by AI, are they like trusted, easy to explain, all of that fun stuff? And with AI agents, again, the same task, just getting harder because we have more complex AI system now with more, dynamic pieces and components, just completely non-deterministic working, all these components working together. So I would say like fundamentals are not going to change. Hopefully AI will make data governance more efficient. And I strongly believe that the future AI agentic systems we are going to build, I deeply believe that the fundamentals of AI governance will be baked into them. So it will not be something we do after the project is done, after the system is delivered. It will be baked into the system from the day one. And sometimes it means like a really easy things. For example, your system should document every single thing it does. You have an audit trail. You understand data changes because you capture every single change and you document it, or the system does. These like tiny things, I believe what's now like a rare thing to see will be a mainstream in 5 years or so. And we will have more governance baked into the system since day one.
John, Steve, any other kind of closing comments here? We have a couple, it's about 2 or 3 minutes, and if we didn't get to any questions, we'll certainly, respond accordingly as a follow-up. Tomas, if you had any other closing comments as well, anything that you wanted to get across, be happy to hear it. If not, I can kind of wrap some things up here. All right.
Yeah, and there's only one closing comment too. I think one of the things that we've seen just in honestly, there's like the last 6 months is a significant change in interest in like how data quality is implemented within companies. And so as builders of technology, I know we're not going to get it right the first time, but we feel the pressure. We're trying to help lead you guys to a future that is going to be able to provide you with much faster responses and much more dynamic. So very much look forward to working with you to make sure that the data quality that we're building, be it in the lineage, in the pipeline itself, or from an external observability tool, are meeting the needs of your organization, right? I think for us as product builders, that's super important. to hear like, how do you actually want to implement data quality, right? It's not for us to tell you.
That might be a good follow-up poll question that we can try and get some of the answers to. It's a very good point. Well, thank you all. Thanks so much for taking the time. I know you're all extremely busy, but we really do appreciate just your insights, your input during the hour today, and obviously the prep work that goes into it. So thank you very much. For all of you, I know some of us will be at Think, IBM's big conference coming up here in a couple weeks. So if you're there, please stop by. I'm sure most of you will be either at a booth or a different area that we could answer questions and continue this conversation. And so if you're able to attend Think, it's going to be a great opportunity to, again, dig into not just data quality as it relates to AI, but a variety of other topics. And also, if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to myself, any of the panelists here, Pat, Mark, really anyone to continue the dialogue. We're happy to do assessments, discussions, whiteboarding, POCs, really trying to meet you where you're at and understand how we can help you solve this data quality challenge, which for each organization might be slightly different. So with that, I'd like to say just thank you and enjoy the rest of your day, and looking forward to working with you all. Have a good one.